All right, folks, today we're going to talk about the last type of tissues. Okay, we've talked about muscle and nervous and epithelial tissues. The last major type is called connective tissues. Okay, and here's the statement. The word connective should tell you something about it, right? If it's called connective, it's tissues that's going to connect parts of the body to each other. Okay, so what is connective tissue? Well, connective tissues will bind, they will support, they will protect, serve as a framework, fill spaces, store fat, produce blood cells, protect against infection, and repair tissue damage. So when I tell you that connective tissue does a lot of stuff for us, I am not kidding. There's a lot of stuff that connective tissue will do for you. And you can see right here. And when we go through each one of these types of connective tissues, you'll see real quick that that's I don't want to say a catch-all, but basically everything else that we can kind of fit into it, because they do connect one part of the body to another in some way, okay? Now again, pretty straightforward there. Now the thing though is we want to start talking about some of the cell types though, okay? Because there are different kinds of cells that you'll see inside this connective tissue, because it's not all the same kind of connective tissue, okay? There's a type of cell called a fibroblast. Now that's a major cell type. It's called a fibroblast. Now if you look at the word fibro, fibro means fibers, right? Makes sense there, okay? The word blast, because remember, this is science and we use big words, but these words come from another language, remember Latin and Greek, and they mean something. Well, the word blast means to build, okay? So fibroblast literally means we're building fibers. So it's a cell that secretes fibers, and they're actually very large. You're going to see this when you look at your color diagram, that last color diagram that I gave you. You'll see that it has a picture, it has some of the fibroblasts, and it wants you to color them. And they're actually pretty big cells, okay? But they're actually making different kinds of fibers, okay? You have other cells called macrophages. Macrophages are also large cells. Macro meaning large, phage means to eat, to consume. So macrophages are basically wandering around your system looking for things to eat. And things like bacteria, old worn out cells, just stuff that doesn't need to be there anymore. That's what they're looking for to break down. So they're kind of part of your immune system. They fight off infections and things like that. And that's another major type of cell that's found in connective tissue. Now how does that sound like connective? Because they're connecting the entire body. They're going throughout the entire body looking for stuff to consume that needs to be consumed that don't need to be there anymore. And then the third type is called a mast cell. Again, very large. The word mast would give you that idea. They're located in your blood vessels. They can actually release chemicals. One of those chemicals is called heparin. Heparin is what we call an anticoagulant. It keeps your blood from clotting. Okay? We'll talk about that a little bit later when we get to blood, okay? And then histamine. This actually promotes inflammation. You know when you get sick and you get a cold and you get bitten by a bug and you get a big welt on you and you start to swell up, and one of the things you take is a Benadryl, or you take some other kind of medication, and if you look down at the bottom, especially like the ones for sinuses and stuff, you'll see the word where it's, when you have allergies for flowers and stuff like that. One of the things you'll see is something called antihistamine. There's medications that you can take that will block the production of histamine. Histamine actually promotes inflammation. Now most people are like, well, that doesn't make sense. Why do you want to promote inflammation? Well, actually inflammation, again, we'll talk about later, is actually a good thing, okay? It can be a good thing. Now the problem is when it gets too much inflammation, when the body overreacts. Okay? But histamine is there for a reason. Our body makes it for an inflammation purpose, which again is a useful thing, but sometimes our body takes it to the extreme. That's why we have these medications now called antihistamines, which block them. Okay? But that's what mast cells do. So these are some of the three major types of cells that you will find in connective tissues. Okay? Not all of them, but a lot of them. Okay? Now, what about the fibers that they produce? Remember I said fibroblasts? Well, fibroblasts are going to produce different kinds of fibers. Okay? And there's three basic types that we want to mention, okay? The first one is called collagen fibers. Now you may have heard of the word collagen before because a lot of times you hear these in beauty products that people use to kind of help them look younger. Well, your skin has collagen in it. And when you're young, your skin has a lot of collagen in it, and it keeps your skin nice and tight and strong. Of course, the older you get, you start looking at people who get older, you can actually see their skin getting wrinkly and flabbier looking, and it doesn't stick to their body quite as well. You know this because you've seen this with your grandparents or such. You look at their arms and their hands, and their skin is a lot thinner, and it slides a lot more, and that sounds kind of gross, but that's just the way it is. They don't have collagen as much as they used to hold the skin in place. Okay? That's what collagen for. And there's other parts of your body that it's used for as well, which we're not going to get into just yet. All right? You also have elastic fibers. They're stretchy, which is also why when you pull on your skin, it pops back, right? Of course, the older you get, the less your body produces, and your skin doesn't pop back as much. That's another reason, one of the other reasons you get wrinkles, okay? And your skin gets, again, without getting too gross, gets kind of flabby, okay? Now, then you also have something called reticular fibers.